We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
We good?
Yeah.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast. This is Abe.
This is Sammy.
I just got off of work. Worked a little early today, got off a little early today. Today was my day off, but been trying to make extra money. So now that we're living on our own, be nice to, make extra money. Hopefully you like the artwork that I made for this podcast. I figure I'm either going to get a bunch of hate for it, or people will actually get my sense of humor. I don't know though, the older I've gotten, like the less I start really caring though, you know what I mean? You're always going to get hate. But just because like in the conspiracy world, the truth community in general, it seems like a lot of people just assume just because you're a truther that you're automatically like Christian. Not that that's a bad thing to be Christian. But Sam Tripoli, he was talking about it one time, that he was like, he sent out like a Twitter post or something, or a picture of him on Instagram, something like that. He was wearing a Slayer shirt with like a gigantic pentagram on it. And like everybody in the comments was like, there he is, he's Illuminati. And it's like, dude, I just like Slayer. Like, you know what I mean? But I don't know, I've never really changed my fashion or anything like that to try to appease people, because it's like, I don't know, I've seen people in the truth community, we are like the most paranoid, conspiracy theorists are the most paranoid people out there. That I've always said, if I ever became popular on YouTube, there's going to be a Illuminati confirmed video on me. And I've already said, man, if I ever become famous and popular on YouTube, dude, I'm going to troll the fuck out of people, man. Just for fun. Like, if I ever became a millionaire or something, hell yeah, I'm going to be wearing, like, I'm going to be throwing up little Illuminati hand signs and everything just to fuck with people. Just so I could go on the internet later and watch, like, conspiracy videos just about me. I mean, that could make me slightly egotistical, but that type of shit just cracks me up. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I chose this as the picture is today's subject is going to be the story of Prometheus, the light bringer, and basically how he is Lucifer. And I don't know, I this describes me and Sammy with the subject of LaVeyan Satanism, because I would say overall I'm like an ancient astronaut theorist and agnostic, because I don't 100% subscribe to Satanism. And when I mean Satanism, I went through this spiel on a billion other videos, but just in case you don't keep up with the channel, you got two different forms of Satanism. You got LaVeyan Satanism, which is basically essentially atheism, but with more of a purpose, more of a political point to it. It's got like rules to it. They have 9 laws instead of 10 commandments. And if you actually, you could check out the 9, what is it, the tenets? I believe it's called the 9 tenets of Satanism. And honestly, most people, if they actually followed those tenets, they'd be like, damn, I guess I'm a Satanist, like, and didn't even know it. But basically, it's like atheism, but they also believe that they are the god of their world. But I don't know. She is right. So hopefully this might turn into a little bit of a debate. That's what. And she's like, "Hey, I'm up for it. I'll debate you." But I think you get discouraged because you feel that there's a lot of negativity in it. I don't know. Why would you say you're discouraged of LaVeyan Satanism?
Well, though it does have some good points to it, I feel that it can still cause you more strife in your life, more conflict in your life than is necessary, than what I would consider necessary.
I think what you're talking about is the part that you've always got aggravated with me with, that I don't believe in the whole Christian.
Turn the other cheek?
Yeah.
Well, it's not even so much turn the other cheek as, I mean, because even I don't quite believe in that one, the whole turn the other cheek. But sometimes, with certain people in your life, and I do mean that, with certain people, you've got to be able to figure out, or be able to judge, I think, pretty quickly, which takes time, obviously. Are they really worth going back against? Or are you just going to keep hitting a brick wall? Like, if you're just going to keep hitting a brick wall, then honestly, it's better just to walk away, not even...
Yeah.
Like, don't even worry about it. Just, but, like, you already know you are correct in maybe the way that you're behaving or something.
Honestly, one thing why, like, because if you watch older videos of me, I'd straight up say I was a LaVeyan Satanist. Just because philosophically there's a lot that I agree with that Anton LaVey was saying.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some good aspects to it as well.
But I noticed the more that I started taking, like, classes and, like, IOP and therapy and just different, like, therapy in general. When I started doing therapy, I started seeing the errors of LaVeyan Satanism. And this was what I got off track a little bit. The differences between LaVeyan and Luciferian. LaVeyan Satanism is basically based off the teachings of Anton LaVey. You could buy his books, the Satanic Bible. There's another one I can't remember. But that's not the one. Luciferian Satanism is the form of Satanism to where they literally worship Satan and sacrifice children and all that horrible shit. There's a difference, man. The other one, they don't. They literally believe in LaVeyan Satanism. They literally believe in protecting children, and stuff like that. Basically, that's one of their 9 tenets is not to harm children. They also have a project. I believe it's called Gray Faction. It's kind of like helping get children out of abusive scenarios and households and all that. It's literally a faction within the Church of Satan where they help children. So I think they focus on kind of like the Christian abuse, as far as like either kids that were getting messed with by the Catholic Church or even just physical abuse, because I don't know, everyone ignores that there's like religious abuse. Anytime you hear religious abuse, they automatically think it's a cult or Luciferian Satanism, and then it's like, well, some of those people abusing those children are Christians, Just saying. But that's the differences. I don't care right now. We're in the middle of recording. Between Levain and Luciferian. Sorry. You have anything else to say?
I guess not unless if you understand what it is, why it is I, to a degree, disagree with Levain Satanism.
Well, yeah, there's no... I don't know, I'm passive aggressive. So,
That you are.
Yeah, they pretty much diagnosed me, you're passive aggressive, man.
Yeah.
So I agree with some of it. It's just, I don't know. It's hard for me too, because like, I used to be really bad with my anger when I used to drink alcohol.
Yes.
But like, a lot of my anger went away when I just put the stupid bottle down.
Yes.
But I still got a little bit of a spitfire in me, like.
Oh, that I think is naturally you, though, honestly.
Right.
When I hear who you were in the past, like, before all that, like, even younger, before alcohol ever even came to your life, that is who you are.
Yeah.
There's no denying that. And it's not exactly a bad thing. It's just definitely learning when to allow it to appear and when not is all.
Right.
Like anybody else is, just...
Okay, like that situation I had the other day at Walmart. Sammy's my government CIA handler. If you all don't know, this is why she was appointed to me by the government to basically be my handler. She was assigned me as a project, so
you're a project, alright.
This is why I pretty much like I'll react a certain way, and then I'll be like, I'll get in an argument with my mom or something, and I'll save all the texts, and then I'll go up to her like when she gets home from work, and I'm like, okay, look at this. Did I handle this wrong in any way? And most of the time she's like, no, you were right. Or she'll find one or two little messages that's like, no, you shouldn't have said that. But she's honestly, she tells me straight up. But I just get caught up in the moment. A lot of times, man, like I guess where I'm passive aggressive, I start out really passive. I truly do.
Yes.
But it's like, certain people just fucking poke me, dude.
Yeah.
And they keep poking and poking and poking. And where I'm passive aggressive, I don't switch over to the whole aggressive part. I just say something real fucking smart that cuts them to the bone.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty much me like a snake kind of like rattling its tail. Like, all right, you got me to rattle. Now don't make me strike your ass,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a definite truth. And then again, I'm able to, that's why I have had friends come to me with things like that, of like, how should I handle this? And I will do my very, very best to always be unbiased.
Right.
And I will try to hear out both sides of the story. And I will try to ask, like, I need you to tell me exactly how they reacted to you.
Well, you're very cool-tempered.
To a degree.
And you've got a very clear mind. I'm batshit fucking crazy. Hence why you're my handler. Because, dude, I just be thinking insane shit 24/7. Like, I always have to, like, when I put a video out, I have to watch it a couple times and make sure I'm not too crazy sounding, because I'm just batshit crazy, y'all. And I've tried telling you all this, but for some reason I still keep gaining subscribers, even though I'm batshit crazy.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm not bitching. I'm just like, hey, I'm doing something right. But
Yeah.
do you want to read the story?
Yeah, I'm gonna read the story.
But this is the story of Prometheus.
Yep.
And you'll see, just notice while you're listening, it's a shorter story, it's not too long. But you'll see the parallels of Zeus being Jehovah and Prometheus being Lucifer. And a lot of people don't realize that they're all the gods out of all these different mythologies are all the same gods, man. And honestly, as crazy as this sounds, like one of the biggest times that probably one of the first times I ever got my mind really blown was my mom had gave me a Greek mythology book when I was a kid. And it was the weirdest fucking thing ever. And I'm like, first off, like, am I even allowed to read this? And she's like, oh, I don't care. I think my mom was a little more relaxed on religion sometimes
Yeah.
than my dad.
Definitely.
And I just remember being a little kid reading this Greek mythology book and going, these are the same fucking stories as what's in the Bible, dude. And then the older I got, I got away from Greek mythology and was like, oh, okay, Greek mythology is the same shit. I started reading other mythologies from other parts of the world and going, dude, they're all telling the same fucking stories all over the world. And that's honestly how Atlantis gets brought into it as a theory, which that's a whole nother podcast, a whole nother rabbit hole.
And that's a podcast all on its own.
Yeah. But yeah, and a lot of people will go, oh, well, you know, they copied Christianity. Okay, but Christianity copied, honestly, the furthest back you can go would be the Sumerians and the Egyptians. And when you learn Egyptian mythology, which was thousands of years before Christianity, and the Sumerian mythology, which is like even earlier than Egyptian, you realize that like almost pretty much the entire Bible, this is where I'm going to lose fans probably, and I'm going to get thumbs down and people hate me in the comments, but this is fact, man. I'm sorry, but you realize that pretty much the entire Bible, almost all of it is plagiarized. But
now that's not to say we are saying that these stories aren't real.
right.
We're just saying it's been plagiarized multiple times.
Yeah. Because honestly, like I said, I'm an ancient astronaut theorist, so I believe a lot of these stories are literal to an extent. They're just being described by ancient people who are explaining gods, you know.
Yep, to the best of their ability.
But I'll let you go ahead and get into the story.
Alright, so it starts out, I guess, kind of like a little poem or something. So I'll read that. Oh, darn it. Lo, a god in the anguish, a god in the chain. The god Zeus hateth sore, and his gods hate again, as many as tread on his glorified floor, because I loved mortals too much evermore. Okay. Come on, turn. After he had formed men out of the clay of
Pompeius.
Mm-hmm. And they had received the breath of life from Zeus, Prometheus set to work to make them something more than mere living images of the gods. For man as first created was little better than the beasts, a poor creature who did not know how to think, or how to use the things which he saw and felt round about him. He lived in caves, ate herbs and raw meat, and when he was wounded or ill he died because he knew nothing of medicine or surgery. But Prometheus, the good and kind, taught men all the arts and crafts of life. He taught them how to build houses and make tools, how to plow the earth and sow the corn, how to reap it when it had grown, to thresh out the bright grains and grind them between flat stones. He showed them how to catch and tame some of the wild creatures, the dog to guard their houses and go hunting with them, the horse to draw their chariots, and the ox to pull the plow, the sheep to yield wool, and the goat's milk which might be made into cheese. It is said that Prometheus also gave men the power of speech, taught them the names of all things, and even how to write and read.
Which a lot of different gods and goddesses and stuff you'll see in polytheism. You can even look at it from a Christian point of view. A lot of stuff was taught to us by the fallen angels, like metallurgy, makeup, and the same with like when it gets into polytheism is a lot of everyday things were taught to us by the gods.
Actually, I was just listening to a podcast the other day. Oh crap, what is it called? Tales? I think. It's literally just called Tales. I think that's the one, either that or Myths and Legends or something along those lines. And I listened to one about Nephilim. And so they did this on the more derivative of the fallen angels from
Is that
God.
covering the mic?
Mike's up here.
Oh, okay.
My voice doesn't carry as well, especially if I don't speak low enough.
You're good.
Yeah. But yeah, it was about the Nephilim and the fallen angels and how they had taught, the humans how to sew and everything. So
Yeah, basically taught us how to do all our shit,
Yep. They taught us lots.
Which reading and writing and speech, I like that Prometheus taught man that, because honestly, if you think about it from the Garden of Eden perspective, we were just kind of like dumb naked people walking around, and he's the one like, hey dude, eat from the tree of knowledge,
Yeah. But it was slow work, since fire, the greatest aid, was missing. Without it, meat must still be eaten raw, and tools could be made only of stone. Bread could not be baked, and the house could not be warmed in winter. Prometheus looked up at the sun, coursing across the sky in the golden chariot which Helios drove, and he sighed deeply. For he could read the future, and though much of it remained dark to him, what he could see, he knew would surely happen. Then he called to him his brother... Oh, what is his brother's name? How do you say his brother's name again?
Epimetheus.
Epimetheus, which I actually listened to another podcast about him, who was as foolish, thoughtless, and improvident as he was wise, thoughtful, and foresighted. My brother, he said, you have helped me so far, and now you live as a man among men to carry on my work. You know how well I love the men whom we have made and taught. And yet you, who see only the outward aspect of everything, do not realize how deep such a love as mine can be. Listen, I must give fire to mankind, the last and greatest of gifts. But if I do so, I shall incur the terrible wrath of Zeus. Man. Ugh. Yet even that I will endure, for so it is ordained. But I beg you to guard mankind to the best of your power, and to be very careful when I am no longer with you. Above all things, beware of any gift from Zeus. Yeah, and again, that podcast actually was about Zeus wanting to get back at man. It has to do with Pandora's box.
Right.
Which is actually not a box, but a jar.
That's like the creation of like sin and evil, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Zeus was pissed, and Prometheus was already in chains. But to get back at him, he went through his brother and made Pandora and gave him Pandora. Yeah, then Prometheus bade farewell to his brother and set out for Olympus, carrying with him the stalk of a fennel plant. As long as I staff and as hard as wood, but hollow and filled with a white pith which would burn slowly and steadily like the wick of a candle. At the foot of Olympus he was met by Athena, the immortal daughter of Zeus, the lady of wisdom, who had helped Prometheus in his labors for mankind. There was a strange story told of her birth, which shows that her father Zeus might have taken after the terrible Titans, such as Kronos. For while Zeus was still at war with the Titans, he married Metis, daughter of the friendly Titan Ocean, and Prometheus came to him and said, "Mighty Zeus, if Metis bears you a child, it will be stronger and wiser than you, its father." Then Zeus, who knew that whatever Prometheus prophesied was certain to be true, was much alarmed. Metis had all the terrible powers of the Titans, and at that time Zeus was not yet armed with his thunderbolts, but he thought of a clever plan, or maybe Prometheus thought of it for him. "Lady Metis," he said, "I know that you have the wonderful power of turning yourself into any creature you please. I can well believe that you could become a great and magnificent animal, such as a lioness or a she-bear. But surely it is beyond your power to turn yourself into a small and worthless creature as a fly." "Beyond my power, is it?" cried Metis, forgetting her usual prudence. "I'll show you." And in a moment she had turned herself into a fly. Zeus smiled, caught the fly, and swallowed it. Anybody remember that story of the old woman who swallowed a fly? That was the end of Metis, and by swallowing her, Zeus added all her wisdom to his own, also her power of shape-shifting. But some months later a terrible pain shot through his head, and grew worse and worse until he cried out in agony for Prometheus to help him.
Now he's gonna die.
Prometheus took his axe and split open the head of Zeus, knowing that an immortal cannot die, and being himself the master of the art of healing. Then a great wonder was seen, for from the head of Zeus sprang Athena, the daughter of Metis, fully grown and clad in shiny armor. She had the wisdom of Metis also, but had no wish to surpass her father Zeus. Her wisdom was of a greater kind, so that she became the teacher of such arts as spinning and weaving, and also of good and wise government.
You know, I just thought of something.
Hmm.
We just watched that Rick and Morty episode where Rick fights Zeus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little Easter egg too. If you guys look at Zeus's chest on Rick and Morty, he's got an Alpha and Omega tattoo. Pretty much one of the names for Jehovah. If you haven't figured it out yet, Zeus is Jehovah. And I know that'll probably piss off a lot of people, but I could care less. That's why, honestly, if you read the Old Testament, I'm sorry, but Jehovah, is evil as fuck. A lot of the shit he does, he's got, anger issues, you know? And you'll notice that Zeus is the same fucking way, dude. Just harsh, you know? Zeus is a little more, has more sexual escapades, you know? You don't really hear that much about Jehovah. I do know that archaeologists and stuff have found evidence that early Jews believed that Jehovah was married. I forget what her name was, but there's actually a scene in the Bible where he's divorcing her. It's wild. It's literally they got in an argument, and Zeus goes on this Jehovah goes on this big rant, basically divorcing his wife. And everybody thinks he's talking about the children of Israel, and he's actually talking about his wife. I wish I knew what her name was. I got into studying it. That was some rabbit hole I jumped down for a little bit. Holy shit, Jehovah was married.
Well, maybe you should jump down it again.
Yeah, I'll have to and share it on the podcast again. There was a stand-up comedian who used to have a joke about it, Jesus must be kind of freaked out by his dad, where's mom? So I butchered the joke, but it was funny.
But she had some of her mother's fierceness also, as she proved by joining in the battle at her father's side and slaying the Titan Pallas, whose skin she flayed off to make her cloak, and whose name she added to her own, so that all who were unjust might fear the terrible voice of Pallas Athena. She could be jealous too, as she proved when the mortal maiden Archine, Arachne, boasted that her skill in weaving was greater than Athena's. For not content with proving her superiority by contest, Athena turned the foolish girl into a spider, to weave cobwebs and useless gossamer. But Athena was also friendly to Prometheus, and interested in his work for mankind. And so when she knew that he had decided to give them fire, she led him by the secret paths to the summit of Olympus. As day grew to an end, Helios drove up in his shining chariot, and Prometheus, hiding by the gateway, needed but to stretch out his funnel stalk and touch the golden wheel.
Which Helios is actually the equivalent of like Ra and Horus and all that. He's the sun god.
Jesus.
Essentially in a way, because they believed also too, the Egyptians, that it was like a chariot that they were riding in the sky, the sun,
Yep. Then the precious spark. Oh my god, my brain.
Spark concealed.
Thank you. My brain had a big old fart. I know the word, but concealed under his cloak. He hastened down the mountainside and away into a deep valley of
Arcadia.
There we go. Where he heaped up a pile of wood and kindled it. The first people upon earth to see the wonderful new gift of fire were the wild
satyrs.
Thank you. My brain's going. Who dwelt in the lonely valleys. Slowly and shyly they gathered round the edge of the glade in which Prometheus had lighted the first campfire, and gradually they drew nearer and nearer. "Oh, the lovely thing!" they cried as they felt the warmth. "How beautifully it dances! How warm and gentle and comforting this new creature is!"
Okay. This another thing with kind of delves into. Okay, so Prometheus was the light bringer, the fire bringer. Which is Lucifer was also the light bringer. A lot of this is why, like, when it gets into like Freemasonry and the Illuminati, why they call it Illuminati. They're illuminated by the light from the light bringer, Prometheus, aka Lucifer. Talking about it metaphorically as like knowledge, that goes into the story of Lucifer in the Garden of Eden and Prometheus bringing fire to mankind, teaching them to read and write, like earlier, you know what I mean? While Zeus was being silly up in Olympus, pretty much. I mean, what was he doing? He ate that one girl, and God knows what he was doing, turning himself into a swan, flying around somewhere. I don't I don't know. But I don't know.
Oh, how I love it, cried
Silenus.
"It shall be mine, mine! See, I will kiss the lovely creature to prove it." With that he knelt down and tried to kiss the tallest and brightest tongue of flame. The look on his face was so comical as the flame scorched him and burnt his beard, that Prometheus sat back and roared with laughter. But he had more serious work in hand. And when day dawned he began to teach men the uses of fire. He showed them how to cook meat and bake bread, how to make bronze and smelt iron, how to hammer the hot metals into swords and plowshares, and all the other cunning crafts of the smith and the metal worker.
So that gets into the fallen angels teaching men metallurgy.
Now that fire had come upon the earth, fire could be kindled there whenever it was needed. So Prometheus, with the help of Hermes, invented rubbing sticks, and taught men which woods to use, and how to twirl the hard piece in the soft until fire was kindled by the friction. So mankind came into his true inheritance. Cities began to grow up, and men to practice all the arts and crafts for which Greece was soon to become famous. But Zeus, as soon as he became aware that his command had been disobeyed, and the gift which he withheld had been stolen and given to men, summoned Prometheus before him. "Titan," he cried fiercely, "you have disobeyed me. What is there to prevent me from casting you down into Tartarus with your brethren, and destroying these vile insects, these men, to whom you have given gifts received for the immortals alone?" Lord Jesus Jesus, oh my God.
Lord Zeus.
Ah,
Hey, it is like
just so you know,
5 o'clock in the morning.
and I haven't gone to sleep yet, so. Lord, God damn
Lord Zeus, dude.
it. Give me a second. Lord Zeus answered Prometheus quietly, "I know what is to come, and how cruelly you will punish me for all I have done. But there are two things you cannot do. No immortal may take away the gift of an immortal has once given, so you will not deprive men of fire now that I have made it theirs. And I am certain that you will not destroy mankind when I tell you that a man, your son, born of a mortal woman, will save you and all of you who dwell in Olympus on that future day when earth will bring forth the giants, meaning to be revenged for the overthrow of the Titans. This I tell you, and you know that my words are true. No immortal can slay a giant, but a man can slay them, if he be strong and brave enough. And I will tell you this also, at a certain time in the future you will fall as your father fell." Then the wrath of Zeus was terrible, and a voice of thunder he bade his son
Hephaestus.
the immortal, whose skill was in the working of metals, take Prometheus and bind him with fetters of brass to the great mountain of Caucasus on the eastern edge of the world. "There you shall lie," he cried in his cruel rage, "forever and ever, as a punishment for your daring and disobedience. The snows of winter will freeze you, and the summer sun will burn you, and your fate shall be a warning to all who would disobey." Then sorrowfully, dang it, what was his name? Hephaestus took Prometheus, and at his command his two servants, the demons Might and Force, chained him to a rock with fetters that he could not break. But
as Hephaestus,
I was trying to, man, was about to leave him there, Prometheus said, "Zeus, that cruel tyrant, will fall as Kronos fell, unless he can find out how to avert his doom. And how to do that I alone know." Hephaestus reported these words, and Hermes was sent to offer Prometheus his freedom if he would tell the secret. "If you do not at once disclose what you know," said Hermes, "Zeus will torture you until you do so. He will send a fierce eagle who will visit you every day and devour your liver. And every night your liver will grow again, so that next day your agonies may be repeated." Still Prometheus would not say how Zeus could avoid the fate which hung over him. And though the eagle did as Zeus had threatened, still he would not tell. But at times his screams echoed over the haunted cliffs and chasms of Caucasus, so that none dared to approach. Meanwhile, Zeus, a prey to fears for the future, and still made cruel by terror, sought how he might plague mankind so that the gift of fire might not make them too happy. Now at first men had full knowledge of their own future, and Zeus, not knowing that Prometheus with his great foresight had taken his power from them, decided to make them immortal also, so that when he had worked his will on them and set free sin and care in the world, they might go mad with terror, knowing the sorrows and sufferings which lie in store for them. That's the story of Pandora. He went cunningly to work, visiting men in disguise and asking who had given them the gift of fire. And men betrayed their benefactor, Prometheus, with cruel thoughtlessness. This gave Prometheus his excuse. I will reward you, he said, for telling me what I wanted to know, by giving you a jar of nectar, the drink of the immortals, which keeps them forever young. Now, I think that's actually a different story. The men received this precious gift, were overjoyed, but with the usual folly and laziness of mankind, they put it on the back of a donkey and drove it before them towards a place where they meant to keep it in safety. Presently they came to a spring of clear water bubbling from the rock, and when they had refreshed themselves, they sat down to eat at a little distance, leaving the donkey to graze nearby. Soon the donkey felt thirsty too, and went over to the spring for a drink. But now there was a cunning snake guarding it, who spoke to the donkey with crafty words. If you touch my spring, I will bite you, and you will die in agony from the poison. I am dying already, of thirst, protested the donkey. So please let me drink a little of the cool spring water. Well, said the gleeful serpent, I will make a bargain with you. Give me the wine in the jar on your back. It's warm and nasty, and donkeys don't like wine anyway. If you give it to me, I'll let you drink as much water from my cool, refreshing spring as you please. Agreed, cried the donkey eagerly, and the exchange was made. And that is why snakes renew your youth every year, casting off the old skin, renew their youth, and appearing as young and shiny as ever. When Zeus discovered that men could no longer foresee the future, he was rather pleased that the snake had cheated the donkey, for he knew that in the days to come many serpents would bite both men and asses, and that snake bites produces a worse fever of thirst than anything.
So there you go. You see the similarity of, because basically we were immortal until we got deceived by a snake and ate the apple. Same concept, because that wine was the source of immortality, and then you have a snake, the talking snake at that. Just similarities I noticed,
Yeah.
men losing immortality by a damn snake.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Well, I was wondering if they really did already drink some of it, or if they were choosing to not drink the nectar yet. Be like, well, let's wait a little bit. Maybe we'll wait until we get a little older, kind of thing. So let's go put it in safety.
I think it said earlier that they just drank water. I don't think it said they drank the nectar.
Yeah, he just said he would give them immortality, and in that form it was the nectar. However, I think they were trying to actually be smart about this and be like, well, let's go hide this, and we'll wait at least, and we'll wait, and then we'll have it. And I think that's why they were putting on the donkey.
It doesn't say if they drank it or not.
So they could have and they could not have.
Yeah, which I was just mentioning the similarities.
No, I see the similarities, definitely. Again, something that was given to them and a serpent took away.
Right.
Oh, what's his name?
Hephaestus.
No.
Epimetheus.
Epimetheus. When Epimetheus saw the beauty... Oh, wait, no. I went too far. Meanwhile, he was busy on a surer punishment for man. He was making the first woman. Her name...
Eve, essentially.
Yes, but this is after the fact that tons of men have already been made. Like, he already made a whole bunch of just men, apparently. And, like, Pandora was the first woman ever. Which I thought was kind of a neat concept in this aspect. It wasn't God already made only one man and woman, one of each. It was God made only men, but in order to punish them, he made us. So we're here to punish you all.
I believe it.
I'm done. I think what God didn't understand is that you guys can punish us too. You know?
I reckon.
Oh, you guys get on our nerves too. To where sometimes we go, why are there men here? I'm not that I'm one of those women, but I could see where women are going to go, why were men even made? Stupidly. I believe that we need man and woman, period.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. But I see where that is. So it's like, I think God kind of missed out on the fact that, yeah, he made woman to punish man, but man figured out how to punish women too.
Right.
Okay, so anyway, her name was Pandora, which means all gifted. For all of the immortals helped to endow her. Clever Hephaestus shaped her out of clay, and lovely Aphrodite gave her beauty, while Hermes taught her cunning and boldness, and Athena dressed her in lovely clothes. Zeus breathed life into her, and then Hermes led her down to earth and brought her to Epimetheus, which, in the story that I heard, it actually took, I'm not sure how many months, but it took months before Hermes was finally brought down to Epimetheus, because Epimetheus was hidden from Zeus for a very long time. He had to find him. So during that time, they taught Pandora, the gods taught her a lot more things. Not too much things, because she had to be naive for a reason. The thoughtless brother of Prometheus. Okay, who lived now more or less as a man among men. When Epimetheus saw the beauty of Pandora, he forgot his brother's warning against accepting any gift from Zeus, and fell in love with her at once. Very soon they were married, and they had a daughter called Pyra, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pyra,
Yeah.
who married
Deucalion,
the wisest and most virtuous of all the first men whom Prometheus had fashioned out of clay. But meanwhile, Pandora brought all the evil upon mankind which Zeus had planned. In the house of Epimetheus.
So once again, you guys are the reason for sin.
Oh, but there's a reason why. It's actually not her fault.
Not in this one.
No,
Yeah.
actually, in the story that I heard.
Because Eve gets all the blame, dude.
Yeah, and kind of like in the snake, though. It's almost the same concept. When Zeus made the jar with all the sins, it was made to honestly, purposely only speak to Pandora. So Epimetheus could not hear what she was hearing of. And you gotta again remember, Pandora's very, very naive. She knows nothing. So she bugs the shit out of Epimetheus of, well, why this? Well, why that? Well, teach me this. I don't understand. Explain this to me. Like, she's constantly doing this to him, driving him nuts.
Yeah.
But he starts to still figure it out. Like, she doesn't know. And so he does teach her and stuff. But she still has lots of curiosity like a young child. So Pandora keeps hearing the whispers of, come on, it's okay. It's okay. Open the jar. It's all right. You're curious to know. You know you are. It's constantly talking to her. And Epimetheus figures this out, at least, that she can't help but want to open the jar. Because, like, he already hid it once up in the attic. She finds it. So then he takes it out to the woods and hides it. And for quite a few months, and this is probably where they finally have sex and are beginning to, to have their first child, she doesn't know where it's at. But then finally, Zeus is starting to get pissed off because he's like, come on, open the damn jar. So he makes it to where she can hear it again. And so again, that curiosity, she can't take it anymore. So she has to go find the jar. Right. And open it. She has to. It's just like, it's driving her nuts. So that's why I don't entirely blame Pandora for opening it. Because Zeus practically made it impossible for her not to open it. But a god, I forget which god, put a secret in the jar. He put hope in the bottom of that jar.
Yeah.
So even though all the other sins got out, Pandora and Epimetheus saw hope, and they quickly closed that jar so that way they could keep hope not from mankind, but safe. So that way, if nothing else, mankind always had hope against these sins. Meanwhile, Pandora opened, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so in the house of Epimetheus stood a golden box which Prometheus had left there with strict orders that no one was to open it. Epimetheus told his wife this, but she was so curious and inquisitive that life did not seem worth living until she knew what treasure it was that her husband was hiding from her, which in the case was actually Zeus. She knew it was a present from Zeus. It was their wedding gift.
Mm-hmm.
So one day, when he was out, Pandora crept quietly to the golden casket and lifted the lid. Then, with a rush and a cry, out came all the ills which beset mankind: diseases and sorrows, hate, jealousy, lies, theft, cheating, and 100 others. Terrified at what she had done, Pandora slammed down the lid. But a little voice cried, "Let me out too! I am Hope!" For Prometheus had placed hope there when he shut up the evil things, so that mankind might not suffer quite so much if Zeus had his way. Which, again, the story I heard was a bit different. It wasn't Prometheus. I don't believe. Because it was someone else. Zeus had someone else fashion the jar. And this particular god was like, I have to obey Zeus. However, I see Zeus being a total dickhead.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do this without his knowing.
Well, honestly, that's why I kind of like the story of Prometheus, because I know people don't like to hear this, but it kind of shows you, honestly, that Lucifer wasn't that bad of a guy. And I know I'll get all sorts of hate for saying it. But I don't know. Even when I read the Old Testament, this is why I believe I would have been a rebel angel. Definitely. Because like when God created man, well, first he created the angels basically to be servants.
Yep, that's actually the whole Nephilim story that the Nephilim story I was listening to. Actually, yeah, that's part of it. A particular, what was his name? I can't remember his name, but a particular angel was like, "Oh fuck, this sucks. So men get to enjoy sex and procreation, but we don't."
Well, and freedom.
Well, yeah, but at least for this one, it was the whole we don't get to enjoy sex and procreation, having kids. But now this, I will admit, it did make this fallen angel more out to be mean. But God definitely got back at him. What was it real quick? But he came down, he taught man, humans, how to sow and plow and all that good stuff, just so he could pretty much convince this one woman to have his child, and the other fallen angels also, had sex and they'll have their child, and they're thinking, alright, screw you guys, we're not going to help you raise them, we don't give two shits about these trials, we just want to be able to do what you all could do. So we came down and did it.
Yeah.
And they started to go back up, and see, because God waited pretty much until...
And that's where the creation of giants come from.
Yeah, so they fell, God makes it where they fell back down into Jordan's sea, and they never rose again. Because they were like stars in the sky, and they fell down to the shores, and so they were
the
giants.
falling of angels.
Yeah, exactly. And then...
Which, Lucifer, when he fell, there's actually a holy grail. It's the jewel from his crown fell out, and supposedly that's one of the holy grails. It's supposed to be in like England or something. I don't know. That's a whole nother rabbit hole. Another episode, which we're going to do on the Holy Grail. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like to put my feet in their shoes and just think about, like, because even when I was a kid and I was being taught basically the story of the fall of Lucifer, I was kind of like, I don't blame Lucifer for being like, hey, I'm jealous because you created these men, humans who you love more than us. They have free will. we were pretty much created as, quite frankly, slaves. Like, you do what I say when I say it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I don't know. I mean, I don't even think I've argued with Christians too, and I've said, well, he never said that he wanted to be. He just said he wanted to be equal with God, and that right there too. They're like, well, no one can be equal with God, and it's like, I don't know though. He's kind of a badass. He's like the first rebel, to just kind of be like, fuck this. I don't like the way shit's going. I'm going to be a God.
Yeah.
I don't know. My thing is like, if you read that, like Prometheus gave us all these different things. If this to me, it's like this. You got two sides to every story. You can either read one and go, this is it, that's it, or you can look at both sides and just kind of figure out what you like. Because to me, with Christianity and Satanism and basically the story of the falling of angels, I always felt like I was a little kid with two angry parents who are in the middle of an argument, and they're trying to drag me into it. Like, choose sides. Are you with me or them? And it's like, how about fuck both of you all? And I'm running away.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, man. And it's like, I don't know. I think I would have been a fallen angel if the story was true that it was a Christian perspective. There's even a Sumerian account, which is more of an ancient astronaut theory. It's written by Zachariah Sitchin in the Book of Enki, which I want to do a podcast on different sections of it. And it kind of tells that it was the Anunnaki were just kind of like having a civil war, pretty much.
Yep.
I don't know though. It kind of cracks me up though. Like, we were given all these people who like badmouth Satan though, and I'll be like, well, Satan gave you certain things that you like, and they'll talk shit about Satan while drinking a beer, smoking a cigarette, and listening to the rock station, and be like, Satan never gave us nothing. All right, well, pour your beer out. Put your cigarette out and turn your rock music off, dude. Because that's satanic, bro. But I don't know. I do have to say this, and this is my honest opinion. I think both of them, Lucifer and God, are both wrong. And that's about as much as I got to say. I think they're both wrong. And why should we as mortals, why should we as humans have to choose a side?
Oh, I don't think you should choose a side at all. It's just not right to pick sides, man. Like you said, I like the analogy of it's like two parents. Pick between your two parents, which one whose side are you gonna be on? It's like, dude, I ain't a part of your fight.
Right.
That was something between you two. You two need to figure it out. Don't drag us in it.
Well, and let's leave LaVeyan out of it. But look at how much evil has been caused by Christianity and the Luciferians. Both. I mean, just pick up a history book about the Crusades or all the point that the Catholic Church is still around, even after everybody knows it's an open secret that it's pretty much a child sex ring.
Yep.
And then the Satanists, the Luciferians, not the LaVeyans, but the Luciferians are no fucking better. They're eating children and fucking children at elite levels of politics and Hollywood, like, fuck both of them, dude. Honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just a conspiracy theorist with a tinfoil hat who's willing to fight both the Christian church and the satanic, Luciferian church. I'll fight both of the motherfuckers, dude. I don't care. I don't know. That's my attitude towards it. I'm me. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Alright, but you all have a good day.
See ya.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.